My name is Roland Perkins. I was born and bred in Pembroke Dock. I was born in 49 North Street, Buffaland. I lived with my parents and my grandparents. And I'm still living in North Street now. I live in 42 North Street now. I went away as soon as I became eligible for the services. I joined the regular army at 17 and a half, and I had 8.5 years in the regular army. I started off in Antwerp in Belgium, went through all of Antwerp in Belgium, and then I ended up in Berlin with the military police. And we were stationed next door to Spandau Prison, which at that time held Rudolf Hess and Baron Rundstedt. So I saw them two, funnily enough.
What year was that, Dad?
Oh, that was in when the Berlin airlift came on. I was there during the Berlin airlift, and used to see Rudy Hess walking in the garden. It's unbelievable. And I was there then. The guy that was doing the executions, the hangman, what was his name? Oh gosh. He was the local hangman. Can't remember his name, but he was, at that time, anybody coming into Berlin when the airlift was on, all the units had to go to Berlin Olympic Stadium to be sorted out. And then when you were in the stadium, they sorted you out, and then you went to various units in Berlin. But with the police, we were all together. But anybody coming into Berlin, on any business sort of thing, then they used to come to the 247 Provo Company headquarters, which is stationed in Spandau, right next door to the prison. And that's where I met this hangman. And he was on his way to Nuremberg then, just to finish off the remaining German people then who were responsible for a lot of the atrocities during the war. I stayed in Berlin then for, well, all during the airlift. And my greatest memories there was seeing the Sunderlands on Lake Harville. And we were there one morning, and one of my friends came to me and said, "Hey," he said, "you're from Pembroke Dock, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You want to go out there?" He said, "There's something you'll be interested in." So I went out, and lo and behold, on Lake Harville were these Sunderlands. So what they were doing then, they were ferrying all the supplies which the Sunderlands were flying in. They used to load them into RASC pinnaces and take them back. So the guy said, "I'm asking for a lift out to the Sunderland." So I hadn't been home then for, getting on for 2.5 years. So I jumped in one of these boats and went out and said to the guy, "Is there any chance I'll lift back to Pembroke Dock then?" He said, "Yeah, you can come back with us," he said. "No trouble at all." He said, "But how are you getting back?" I said, "Oh my God, I didn't think about that." You know. I said, we mightn't be on this trip again.
No.
But I thought, well, forget about that then, probably.
Yeah.
So, and that was it. So I was there then another 18 months, I think, until the airlift came to an end. And then I got stationed then down in Dusseldorf, still with the police.
But you were the Remy then, though, weren't you?
And I couldn't handle it then, not with the police, so I remustered then. I remustered into Remy then. And that's where I did the rest of my service then with Remy. But I was always attached to different units.
That's a long time before, isn't it?
Yeah, they just had their own workshops there. They just set up the workshop, and I ended up then with I went then with the 1st Battalion Royal Norfolk Regiment. And I was with them for 3 years. And then lo and behold, when they went to Korea, and then they were taking all the attached personnel with them, And I thought, oh my God, I'm not going out there like that. I was coming to an end of my services then, like, you know, I think I had about 2 years left to do. So I managed to pull a couple of strings, and I ended up being attached to the military police again then in Dusseldorf. And eventually then we ended up in the headquarters of the 2nd Battalion, the 2nd Infantry Brigade, BAR, and that was stationed in a little place called Hilden. And that's where I ended up my service in Hilden. I was with the police then again for, well, the remainder of my service was about 2.5 years. So, and then that's where I finished my service, was in Hilden. I came home then and...
what was that, 50, what was that?
I came home in 50, Roland was 50,
Roland was born in 52.
Yeah, 52. In the meantime, during all this, I got married. And I used to say to my wife, well, are you prepared to come out to, you know, follow me around at my point? She said, no, I'm not prepared to do that. Because we had Roland then, my eldest son. So when it came to the end of my service, I came out. She wasn't prepared to follow me around to have my army life, which I quite understand. But I absolutely loved it, you know. So when I came out then, and work was hard around to find that, and I was always saying to the wife, oh, this is no good, kid. I think I'll go back into the army. And she said, deliver a crippling blow. If you go back there, she said, you won't see me when you come home again. So that was the end of the story.
That prepared to that.
Yeah, that prepared to that, you know.
Yeah.
But everything worked out fine, you know. We had Michael then in 1954, and from then on, you know, life blossomed, like, really lovely.
So what were your childhood memories through the war then, Dan? What
Well, my biggest was obviously the bombing of the tanks. I can remember that.
And your grandfather in the house?
And my grandfather in the house. Well, that was a norm then. You know, you were living with your grandparents.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, my grandmother were there with us, and then they bombed then along the Pier Road, and they bombed my father's place of work. So he was with the army there, with the civilian side of the army. He was as a clerk of works.
Morris Perkins.
Yeah, his name was Morris Perkins.
He's well known in the town, wasn't he?
Well known.
Whereabouts was he at?
In Pier Road.
In Pembroke.
Yeah, on Pier Road.
Yeah, down by the
So they evacuated
Yeah.
all them to Narberth then, so father had to find a place for us to live. And he found a place in Narberth. And that was in Stonyford in Narberth, very small, well there's only a couple of houses there, but we were there then during a few years. They were here when they bombed the tanks, and when the tanks were being bombed, then mother had a bit of a nervous breakdown on top of it as well. So we stayed in Narberth then for a few years, came back home, and I started an apprenticeship then with Elsden's Garage in Bush Street. And I thought, oh, this isn't for me. I was there a couple of years, and I thought, oh, and that's what persuaded me then to join the regular army. I enlisted in Swansea, and I enlisted into the Royal Artillery to start with. So I have a fairly varied military career. I was Remy and Royal Artillery and military police and goodness knows, so it was, you know, it was really good. But I can remember the bombs of the tanks as well. It was yesterday, you know. So all the stage was like that.
Yeah, and and what about the incendiaries coming down? Remember the incendiaries coming down and Bambi being an ARP ward, wasn't
Oh
it?
yeah. Father ended up as an AAP ward, and they dropped a load of incendiaries the same day, same night then as the two ARP messengers got killed. Well, Cyril Jenkins and Arthur Kavanagh. And they got killed in the field just above where I live now, we call it Britannia Field. And they went up to put out incendiary bombs, and they'd have dropped into the field. And as they were doing this, trying to put the bombs out, the plane turned round and machine gunned them and killed them there in on the field. But their father then, as part of his job as ARP war, he used to go around trying to put the incendiary bombs out. But after that, he wasn't so keen on going and
Put a bag of sand over them.
yeah, he put a bag of sand on them and
But they'd still be frustrated with this.
yeah, you couldn't put water on them apparently
Yeah.
because it was, you know, but he did that then during the war. And after that then, you know, when they killed these two messengers, he wasn't keen to go out and putting bombs out in the open, like, you know. So why they killed them two boys, we never know, like, that's an open field. And why they went up there in the first place to put the bombs out anyway,
Yeah.
because they weren't doing any harm,
Yeah.
but they did, and the plane turned around and machine gunned them, and that was it. Because they're both local boys. Cyril Jenkins was born in, born in North Street, the back of the bottom end of North Street, where I live now. And I think Arthur Kavanagh was the son of Kavanagh, the Borough Surveyor, down here at the time. So that was a bit of a shock to the town.
And what about you kept a diary, didn't you?
Yeah, I kept a diary, but not a proper diary. So as events occurred, I used to put it in the diary, and I promised John I'd take it down to him and give it to the Sunderland Trust.
Yeah.
So it's all little bits and pieces that I cut out of the paper and put into the diary and all this sort of paper. But so it's quite an interesting read, like it was all done in schoolboy script, like, you know.
That's the best that you see
Yeah,
everything,
it's-
isn't it?
Yeah, so all in all, like, you know. So I came out of the army then and started looking for a job and settled in Pembroke Dock, and that's it. I've been here all the rest of my life.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, fun.